Hello and welcome to a new video. In today's video we're going to take a look at 10 potential shadow Pokemon for the future that are going to be very good for the Open Great League. Why do we do this? Because we just had a Rocket, or just still have a Rocket event going on, which is going to introduce some very strong Pokemon. I sadly cannot really cover them right now because I'm currently on vacation, so it's a great video to pre-produce for that. But yeah, we're going to take a look today at 10 Pokemon that will be good in the future. After we now saw that Talonflame with a Shadow bonus got introduced, which is very, very strong. We have the Pokemon of Giratina, which came up as well. But today we're going to have 10 normal Pokemon that are going to have, in their own kind of way, most likely a little bit more play as a Shadow. And we're going to take a look at them right now and see why this is the case. Also, of course, if you want to subscribe, do that. Let's move on to the first Pokemon. We're going to have Golisopod. This Pokemon has some respectable bulk, but also some respectable attack, and this Pokemon especially is going to be one of the main say-swaps in the current Great League meta, having access to Fury Cutter as well as the Shadow Claw, having different kind of options with that. And as a say-swap with a coverage that has its double stab and already doing a lot of damage, being Shadow can really help you out. It doesn't always show perfectly on like the stats itself. Here you see kind of similar average rating, but I do think like if you get more energy advantage with this one, you're going to be able to win this matchup a bit more. But what I even find a bit interesting is that for this Pokemon you have like the other option with Shadow Claw as well, which makes it even a safer say swap. You're going to be able to flip some other matchups now with being Shadow now. You're going to be able to do better against Pokemon like a Jellicent because your fast move damage is actually adding up a little bit more, which makes this Pokemon quite a bit better as a Shadow in my opinion, as a say swap, especially if you want to run Shadow Claw on this one, which again here Fury Cutter is the recommended move, so we're going to take a look at this one. But there are a lot of matchups that you're going to be able to do a little bit better with having the Shadow bonus, which is going to be cool. The other variants, of course, where you mostly want to have the non-Shadow version, most likely even the Ultra League, where you have a little bit more bulk even. But I do think that Shadow Golisopod would be definitely a menace in the current Great League meta. And with that, we're going to take a look now at the second Pokemon that would definitely benefit quite a bit from being Shadow, which is Corviknight. And you see here already a moveset that it currently cannot have, which is going to be Steel Wing, Payback, and Air Cutter. Air Cutter is not released yet while recording. It's going to be released at the end of the month, and I think 30th or something, you're going to have the community day for Corviknight. Corviknight is going to get access to Air Cutter, a move that is 35 energy and I think 40 damage or something, but has 30% chance of boosting your own attack stat, which is going to be the reason why we're going to go for Steel Wing. And that's also the reason why I think while this is a bulky Pokemon where you usually wouldn't want to have the Shadow bonus on it, with the moveset change, the Shadow bonus actually makes some sense. As you can see here as well, again the average rating is kind of similar, but this is kind of considering that you don't get an attack boost for the first 3 Air Cutters, I think, which is very unlikely. And so if this Pokemon boosts itself up with a Shadow bonus, Steel Wing plus Air Cutter bonus would do so much damage that you're going to have so much more potential to flip certain matchups for yourself, which is going to be absolutely fantastic, which I think as well here, Corviknight is going to be super cool. But again, as you can see on the left already, Corviknight is going to be super cool with the next Community Day move update as well. So definitely make sure to pick a good one up. Also for the Ultra League where it's going to benefit quite a bit from Air Cutter as well. We can now move on to Greninja. Greninja is a Pokemon that doesn't really have a lot of bulk to begin with, which is kind of one of the main benefits already from being Shadow because you're gonna not lose as much. But with the bonus of being Shadow, which is going to mostly be released at the January next year, which is going to be when we are kind of going towards the next Go Tour, which is going to be for the region of Greninja. And so we're going to get the Shadow Greninja very, very soon, which is going to be a very exciting Pokemon to play. I will definitely grind this Pokemon like crazy because I want to have one for the Open Great League that can do a lot, because as you guys see already, it's going to be better. It's going to be straight up better. Like we saw like some Pokemon just before where it's situational, and I do think that especially as like say-so position or whatever, they're going to be better off like for the Corviknight when you have the boost. But for this Pokemon, it's just straight up better in most of the matchups because you're just going to do a little bit more damage, and all of a sudden there are certain matchups where, for example, against a Diggersby or against something like Clodsire, all of a sudden your Hydro Cannon plus Water Shuriken might be able to just one-shot them, which wasn't the case before, which makes those matchups a little bit more difficult. And thing with Greninja as well, as soon as you're going to have a little bit of an energy advantage with this Pokemon, it can completely sweep any kind of team, which makes Shadow Greninja, which is undoubtedly coming very, very soon to the game, one of the most threatening Pokemon for the upcoming meta. And Morpeko is going to be next, a Pokemon that recently only got really released, like it's I think a little bit more than a year ago, but still that is kind of recent in Pokemon Go terms. This Pokemon is going to be an interesting one here, as it already actually has a great average rating and doesn't really get a lot of play, even though it has that rating. I made a video, not recently, but like a few weeks ago, about Morpeko as well. I really enjoyed playing this Pokemon. I think it's a cool Pokemon to still run. But as a Shadow, you're just going to have the potential to just one-shot nearly everything. Which you're going to see as well, the win rate is going to increase while the average rating is going to drop because they do a little bit more damage against you. And as you're going to see as well, the negative matchups are a little bit more negative than before. So all the ground and all the bug type fast move users basically here are going to be quite difficult for this Pokemon, but you're going to have more polarizing matchups with this thing, as you're going to be able to one-shot other Pokemon now quite easily with the Aura Wheel, which before already was kind of possible, but with a Shadow bonus, Morpeko would be very threatening. Like, you're basically going to be forced to use shields against this Pokemon if there has a neutral hit. You're not going to be able to take a hit if it's neutral even, which is kind of madness. And so we're going to take a look again at a Pokemon that maybe on paper doesn't really make too much sense. It's going to be the Ferret, but Ferret has kind of something going on for itself where I think the Shadow bonus really would help. This Pokemon is one of the best safe stops in the current meta, but also a really good lead in order to align yourself. As you can see here, with the Shadow bonus, you're actually going to lose some matchups on the paper there, basically, in a 0-to-1 shield scenario. But if you're going to just take a look at the 1 shield scenario, left and right side, you're going to see that we already win 2 extra matchups, which is kind of cool. And the thing is here, I do think that this Pokemon, especially in the 2 shield scenario, would be absolutely fantastic. This Pokemon would allow you to align yourself even easier with the access to Trail Blaze. So Shadow boosted Sucker Punch and Swift plus Trail Blaze, I feel like it would be kind of deadly in the current meta and would allow this Pokemon to do a lot of damage. Of course, you're kind of sacrificing a little bit of bulk, but to be fair, Ferret isn't even the most bulkiest Pokemon to begin with. It's not close to any of the really bulky Pokemon anyway, so I do think that the Shadow bonus actually would help this Pokemon out quite a bit. We're going to end up now at the next Pokemon, which is going to be Pangoro. Pangoro, a Pokemon that is not known for its bulk. Pangoro is a Pokemon that's known for the damage output of it, and this is the reason again why the Shadow bonus would actually help this Pokemon out quite a bit. What we'll see here is that certain Pokemon might be a little bit more tricky. As we see as well, the Fortress, for example, is going to be a bit more difficult for us here. But all of a sudden, you're going to be able to one-shot something like a Gastrodon with a close combat. And this is kind of ridiculous. And so, again, here there's going to be a Pokemon similar to Greninja, which is going to take advantage of the fact that you are very close at one-shotting certain Pokemon with the moves that you already have, and now you might be able to do exactly that with a Shadow bonus on them. And here, for example, Pangoro with close combat is going to be ridiculous. We see the average increase there as well by like, I think 25? Yeah, by 25, and 2 extra wins as well for this Pokemon, which just makes it a very interesting one here. Generally, Pangoro is an interesting one, which you see as well based on the win rate, because it actually is quite good in the current meta already, but people don't really want to use it, which is kind of interesting. Maybe I have to give it a try again. Next one again is going to be most likely on paper not as great, but here we're actually going to take a look at the 2-shield scenario on the left side, but the 0-to-1s in the middle, basically here in the team ranking. And we see Arachnid actually gaining 8 average rating and dropping 1 win, but the Shadow bonus has the effect that you're just going to be ridiculously powerful with Bug Bite. Bug Bite is a move that is just doing so much damage already. It's a 1-turn fast move, and with a Shadow bonus, I think you can just Bug Bite through matchups that you usually wouldn't be able to win as well. And I think this is kind of scary. I think this is like one of the most scariest Bug Bite user that doesn't have the Shadow bonus yet. Especially with Bubble Beam, you can give yourself artificial bulk back again, and then you just have so much damage output with that Bug Bite. And I find it even funny because, as you can see as well, with the Shadow bonus, you're actually going to be able to win in the 0-to-1 shield scenario against Dusclops, which is a Pokemon that resists Bug Bite, which kind of showcases again what I mean. This Pokemon can be quite ridiculous if it's going to be in the right position, and I do think it's going to be better as a Shadow. Undoubtedly going to be better as a Shadow is going to be Darkspawn. Left side, 2-shield scenario again. 2-shield scenario for Charmer always looks kind of strong, but it rarely looks this strong. This is going to be the craziest average increase. You basically have nothing that you can do against this Pokemon other than like a Poison type or a Steel type. And that is going to be it. And even for the Poison type Pokemon, you still have Psychic Effects. Well, yes, I know it's not a stab move, it's not going to do a lot of damage. It's still going to be a very scary move to go for. And so I think that Darkspawn with a Shadow bonus would be a fantastic pick for a future event, at least if you want to have the meta a little bit more toxic, because this would go instant meta with this change. But yeah, this would most likely apply to Wigglytuff as well, which isn't Shadow yet either. And so I think this might be the second to last one. We're going to have Thievul next. Thievul is going to be, maybe it's even the last one, I don't know. It's going to be a Pokemon that kind of lost a little bit of weight in the recent meta shift with the bug type kind of getting a bit more popular. But with the Shadow bonus, you're going to have a Pokemon with a Sucker Punch and Night Slash, which is really unique. And that's kind of what I want to look into, like the Pokemon here today as well. Pokemon that are kind of unique and not like a clone of other ones, really. So Sucker Punch and Night Slash together is something that no other Pokemon really can do. And with a Shadow bonus, this Pokemon would be able to apply so much pressure against Pokemon that don't resist the Dark typing that you would be able to flip most of the matchups, which is kind of mad. And Thievul is definitely one of the Pokemon that I would love to see being Shadow soon. And this is actually the final one for today. It's going to be Bellibolt, a Pokemon that you mostly wouldn't really expect on the list here today, because usually like the bulky Pokemon don't really want to be Shadow, but this one I feel like it would really want to be Shadow as long as you want to run Sucker Punch. As you can see on the left side, we have 28 wins and 18 losses there. We're going to go to 27 and 18 losses. So we're going to have a little bit of a decrease even in the average rating. So why do I think this Pokemon is actually better as a Shadow? Is because we're going to take a look here currently at the one-shield scenario on the left and the right side, and of course still the 0 to 1-shield scenario in the middle. But basically, this Pokemon is going to now, with a Shadow bonus, have more Dark-type coverage. And I think this would be great because it's going to make this Pokemon more neutral. It's going to give it more neutral play against more Pokemon. And I think this would be kind of great for it. We see here, for example, the matchup against Credilli all of a sudden winning for our Bellibolt as a Shadow because Sucker Punch damage is just adding up a little bit more. And I do think this would be kind of healthy for the Bellibolt. I think it would give it a completely different play on what you kind of want to do. I think it only makes sense though if you want to run Sucker Punch. It doesn't really make too much sense for Thundershock. But that's also going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I will see you then. Bye bye.